we are. All right, it's working live. So what is it? 1, 28, 21. Still a palindrome, so it's a palindrome all this week. Because it's 1, 2, 8, 1, 2, 8. I love it. Okay, so today what we're going to be doing is graphing and finding the vertex of a parabola. And what we're going to see today is that we're going to see 3 different problems. They're all going to be parabolas, but they're in different forms, okay? So if I take a look at the first one, it is an x squared, right? So we know it has to be a parabola. This one's in what we call vertex form. And I like vertex form because it's really easy, okay? Vertex form is really easy because then we know from our warm-up, right? You guys did this. We know the vertex of this one has to be at positive 2, right? Positive 2, negative 4. Right? Thumbs up, everybody, right? That makes sense? And so then what I'll do to make it easier is I'll go down, I'll just put that, okay? Positive 2, negative 4 is on my graph. Okay, put that right there, okay? So that's my vertex. Slide it back up. What else I gotta do? Okay, so then find the line of symmetry. So the line of symmetry always goes through the vertex, okay? Line of symmetry always goes through the vertex. Okay, so let's see what that means. So line of symmetry is that thing where it folds over, like, you know, you had half of it. So the line of symmetry is right here. That's that line we fold over. It's invisible. It's an invisible line. It's not part of the graph. You don't really see it. It's invisible, but it's there. So it's a vertical line, so it has to be an x equals equation. It has to be. X equals equation. So this one is just going to be x equals 2, right? Which is going to be the same as the vertex, right? That makes sense because it goes through the vertex, right? So it's got to be the same as the x value of the vertex, okay? So let me slide this up into my notes. What I said was line of symmetry equals the h value and negative 2, opposite of that, right? And that's what we got. So now we want to find the y-intercept and the x-intercept. So if we were to graph this, just like our warm-up, we're going to go 1, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, right? 1 squared, 2 squared, 3 squared. I'll go 1, 2, 3. 3 times 3 is 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And because of the line of symmetry, we just fold those points over. I got a point there. I got a point there. And I got a point there, okay? So draw it in. Now, I still want the x-intercepts, but those are easy because I can find them from the graph, right? X-intercepts. All right. There. And there. Okay, those are my x-intercepts. And the coordinates of those are at 0, 0, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 0. So I also need the y-intercept. The y-intercept is where it crosses the y-axis, right? Here's the y-axis. And that is also right there. It doesn't always work this way, but sometimes it does. And the y-intercept is also at 0. 0, okay? So, X-intercept where it intercepts the x-axis, right? Y-intercept is where it intercepts the y-axis, right? X-intercept, what's the height? What's the height of the graph right here? What's the height right there? 0, right? So if you let the y equals 0, we'll get into this later, with the y equals 0, you get the x. And then here, what's the x value right here? 0. And later on we'll talk about that if x is 0, you get the y is 0. Comes up, guys. Okay, not too hard. Math does not have to be hard. Okay, so I'm going to turn the page. Let's take a look at the next one. All right, now, if it's in a different form, and this is what we call standard form. And standard form is kind of a pain. I like intercept form because I can get the vertex. I like vertex form. I like it because I can get the form. But this one's different. This one's in standard form, okay? So if I want the line of symmetry, I get this little mini equation. It's really an easy equation, but if I want the line of symmetry, it's x equals this negative b over 2a, okay? Where a is the number in front of x squared, which in this case that's a 1 in this example. B is the number in front of the x, so in this example it's 2, and of course c would be the negative 8. So here's what I know. In this example, I know that my a is 1, and my b is 2, right? So if I want the line of symmetry, and I'm going to use my form, I'm going to go x equals negative b over 2a for my line of symmetry. I'm going to do that first. Line of symmetry, I'm going to do that first, okay? So in this example, that's going to be an x equals, let's see, it's going to be a negative b, which is a negative 2, right? Over 2, that's in the form times a, which is 1. So then that's just going to be a negative 2 over 2, or x equals negative 1, right? Let's graph that. Let's put that on a graph, okay? So x equals negative 1 is an up and down vertical line, and we're going to put that at negative 1. So remember, it's an invisible line. It really is an invisible line, so I like to do it like kind of like that, because it's not part of the graph, it's just like the middle of the graph. It's an invisible line, okay? That's my x equals negative 1. Now, think about this, the vertex. Vertex has to be on this line. The vertex must be somewhere on this line, right? It's got to be. It's got to be somewhere along this line, right? So to get the vertex, we're going to plug in x equals negative 1. Because it's going to be negative 1, we just need the corresponding y value. So we're going to plug in, for the vertex, we're going to plug in this answer into y equals where our equation is, you know, x squared plus 2x minus 8, okay? So if I'm plugging negative 1, I got to plug it in for x, there, and there, right? And we'll get its corresponding y value, because it'll be y equals. So I'll plug it in. Y equals a negative 1 squared plus a 2 times a negative 1 minus 8, okay? Alright, let's see what I got. I've got a y equals a positive 1, right? Negative 1 times negative 1. Minus 2 minus 8. or y is equal to a negative 9. Okay, so my vertex is a point. Vertex is a point. It's a point. And for us, it's going to be a negative 1, negative 9. I'll let you catch up, okay? So the vertex is a point. We got the x value already. If I get going too fast, tell me to slow down, please, okay? I'm so glad you guys are here. I mean, it's a pain in the butt getting through now, isn't it? But you learn so much more being fast. You guys read that? Oh my gosh, online. So I got the x, right? So I know the x value of my point. And then you get the y up. Y is different. So let's graph that. So now, if I go back to my graph, negative 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, right? Now there's one other point I know. Because it's in standard form, this, the C, that number by itself is my Y-intercept. That's my Y-intercept. That makes sense, because if x is 0, what are you left with? That number, right? If x is 0, 0. So, for us, my Y-intercept here, the Y-intercept for this one, is at 0, negative 8. Okay? Let's circle that. Okay, and let's circle that because that's important. That's important. That was important, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and graph that point. 0, negative 8 is there. And then I got another point because I can reflect this point there, right? How's that? Now the X-intercepts. I don't know if you remember how to factor, but I taught you how to factor last year, right? Remember? So for the X-intercepts, Francisco, who'd you have for geometry? Who'd you have for geometry? Who? Who? Oh, Mendoza. Well, then for geometry, then you got a maid. He taught you how to factor. He's a good guy. So X-intercepts are going to go 0. So we let y equal 0. And we go 0 equals x squared plus 2x minus 8. Remember how to factor? Maybe. I taught you how. X and x, right? And I'm going to go a positive 4, negative 2, right? Positive 4, negative 2, because 4 times negative 2 does make a negative 8. But when I combine those two, I get a positive 2, right? But remember the mini equations? You're going to have an x plus 4 equals 0. And an x minus 2 equals 0. Remember the mini equations? Do you remember that at all? It's so hard because I know I taught you guys this, but then we were kind of online when we did this. So one answer is x equals negative 4, right? Because you solve. Minus 4, and x equals 2. Okay, so then my x-intercepts, I have those. Circle this. They're at negative 4, 0, and 2, 0. Okay, and I'm going to circle that because that's part of my answer. So I'm going to go ahead and take those. Back to my graph. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 1, 2. And now I can graph my graph, okay? How's that? Okay, last problem. Slide up. Am I going too fast or okay? All right, last problem. Okay, so this problem's kind of weird, but it's given to us in where it's already factored. In a sense, it's already been factored. Which means these are my mini equations. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get my X-Intercepts. Just like I did up here. I'm going to do the same thing I did up here. And I know I'll have 0 equals the 2, x minus 4, x plus 2, right? The 2 doesn't have an x, so we don't need the 2, okay? We don't need the 2. Or we can divide by 2. So let's see. Get a 0 equals an x minus 4 and a 0 equals an x plus 2, right? Those are my mini equations. So I'm getting the x-intercepts first. So if I add 4, I subtract 2. So I got my x-intercepts at 4, 0, and negative 2, 0. Okay, let's see what that. Let's do that. There. And there. Okay. Okay. This completely makes sense. Completely makes sense. Honest. You guys are like, what? Seriously, check this out. The line of symmetry, the very middle of the graph, has to be there. The middle of the graph has to be there. You guys agree? It's got to be there. It's got to be, because it's right in between the 2 points, right? If the line of symmetry is the middle of the graph, then it's got to be the middle of these 2 points, right? So I know my line of symmetry just by looking at it. My line of symmetry is x equals 1. Okay? And then if I need my vertex, I'm going to plug in 1. I'm going to plug in x equals 1. Right? Because I've got the 1 something. It's got to be 1 something. What's the something? I don't know. 1 something. Let's plug it in. So go y equals 2 times 1 minus 4 times 1 plus 2. So I just plugged them into here. Okay, I took these values, took my 1, plugged it in there and there, right? Now I'm going to simplify it. Let's figure out what it is. Oh, y is equal to the 2 times a negative 3 times a 3, right? Which is a negative 18. Okay, so I'm probably going to have to go by 2's, right? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. Yeah, I'm going to have to go by 2's. Negative 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. There's negative 18, okay? So then my vertex is way down here. Almost done, really. Almost done. I need one more thing, that's my Y-intercept. But I'll let you guys get caught up. So the Y-intercept, we let x equal 0. Because it's got to be on this line. And we know that the x value is 0 because it's got to be on this line. So let's plug it in. So I've got y equals 2 times 0 minus 4 times 0 plus 2, 8 times 2, negative 18. What's it? No, 16. Oh, come on, you guys. Oh, first mistake of the day. Doggone it. Ugh. Oh, well, no big deal. And then I also know there's another point. You guys are ready? Right there. You guys agree there's got to be another point right there? You guys agree? There's got to be another point right there. And there I'm done. Okay. It's a lot in one day, isn't it? It's a big lesson. Okay, so that's all I have for today.